So in this first section, we're going to talk about the key player in any data privacy implementation, and that's the Global Data Privacy Officer. Section 1 describes the position, and we'll give you some basic concepts about what's involved in the role and some things that you'll hear repeatedly during this course. So what is a data protection officer? Video 1. Simply put, the data protection officer is the individual or the function that's responsible for making sure that regulatory compliance is maintained for all company functions involving the collection or processing of personal data. The data protections officer's responsibilities are broad, and they include a number of things, and I'll list a few of them here. These are not all of the things that you might be required or asked to do as a data protection officer or as a data protection team. You're going to most likely assess and respond to any kind of incident breach that involves personal data. And that response can include talking to a supervisory authority. It can include forensic investigation. It can include notifying the data subjects themselves that there has been an incident or breach. You're going to be the point of contact between the company and the supervisory authority, the regulator. You're also going to be the point of contact, and you're going to interact with data subjects. You're going to tell them how their personal data is being used, what their rights are in the way that their personal data is used or erased or redacted or changed, and what kind of measures the company has put in place to protect their personal data. They're going to look to you or your function to give them that kind of information, and you're going to be the point of contact to interact with them. Most data protection regulations require you to maintain comprehensive records of data processing activities, and indeed the data protection officer is going to be the person responsible for doing so. Of course, whether you're a lawyer or not, you will be providing advice on the impact of the data protection efforts. If you're a lawyer, sometimes you'll be providing legal advice, looking at contracts. But if you're not a lawyer, you're still going to be giving advice on the operations of the company, whether legal or not, on protecting the personal data that's in your charge. A big function of a data protection officer is to conduct training of all staff involved in data processing, and particularly in educating senior management and employees on important compliance requirements. Finally, once you've done all these things, and there'll be more things that come up and are part of your role, you're going to conduct audits. And when I say audits, they might not be official audits with an auditing company come in there, but you might yourself go through and look at the kinds of operations and activities that your employees are engaged in from day to day, and making sure that they're following their training, for example, using proper forms, reporting incidents as they should. And the reason for that is that in your role as data protection officer and your role in being a point of contact for the supervisory authority, they may from time to time ask you to prove that what you show them is true. Why might your company have appointed you? Why might they have a team? Really, the main reason is because they have to. And that's not true in every case. Different global regulations have different regulatory requirements. Your company might be required to designate a data protection officer, and that could be an individual, again, or a function, by a regulation in a certain location or for all locations. Generally, this will happen because your company engages in some kind of systemic monitoring on a large scale, or they process personal data on a large scale. Now, your company might have appointed you or have designated you as their data protection officer simply because they care about how personal data is processed, and they want to have a function that helps them identify and eliminate risk. So even though a regulation doesn't require you to be appointed, your company might have picked this function as one that is important to have a designated employee because they care about what's happening to the personal data and they don't want to get sued. Before we go any further, we're going to go on to basic concepts, which is your next video. It's going to describe kind of some of the things you need to know, some of the terms that you'll be seeing repeatedly throughout this course.